I'd like to welcome you to 7 Secrets to Help Your Kinesthetic or Tactile Child Excel. So again, I'm Ricki Linksman. Secret number 4, it's not only learning style, it's also your brain hemispheric preference. In my years of brain research, I found that there's a difference between kinesthetic learners who process through the left side of the brain and those who process through the right side of the brain. And I'll tell you about those distinctions. For example, left brain learners learn best sequentially, step by step, and through words, where right brain learners learn best through getting the big picture, main idea, and through demonstration. So if you have a kinesthetic left brain learner, and again, the SuperLinks test that I give will determine whether they're more preferring their right side or left side function. Kinesthetic left brain learns best by hearing words while moving or letting them talk while moving. Kinesthetic right brain like to move with a model demonstration, like a coach demonstrating, without many words or as few words as possible, such as action words, or they need to move nonverbally. Tactile left brain learns best by writing words and touching hands on material and talking about their feelings, while tactile right brain learners learn best by writing words in color, plus drawing the pictures, touching hands on material without talking, and they all with hand gestures. Now, the 5th secret does my child have ADD or is merely a kinesthetic learner? Now, this is an area of research that I've done a lot of work in, and because a lot of students are diagnosed ADD because of a checklist or ADHD, there are many characteristics on that needing to move, and I call it a fine line between ADHD and kinesthetic learners. The checklist is not considered the most valid way to figure out someone's ADHD because it's a medical diagnosis and must be done by a medical doctor. And so if you want to be sure whether your child is a kinesthetic learner or you want to find out whether he's ADHD, it is a medical diagnosis for ADHD. But here's the question. This is a secret tip I want to share with you. If you think your child is ADHD because your child moves around a lot, here's the question. Is the child distracted and moving only during homework time or only doing chores that he or she doesn't like, or is it all the time, including things the child likes to do? Because ADHD is not selective. Either someone has it all the time or they don't have it all the time. So if it just appears that he seems or she seems to be acting out and moving around during homework or reading or something the child doesn't like, but yet they're fully attentive to the football game or the sports they like or eating or talking to their friends or text messaging, then it's an indication that maybe your child is a kinesthetic learner and just needs more activity. So one of the interventions that we do in school is we find out if it's in a kinesthetic way. And I found in 90% of all the students who've come to me in this situation, the kinesthetic technique helped them engage, concentrate, and become a top student. So that's another tip that I wanted to share. Number 6 is people comprehend and remember best in their learning style. Now I'm going to give you an activity tonight, sometime this week. You take a fiction book. Have your child read the book to you phrase by phrase. I'm just take even a sentence or two. For example, let's say the story says a girl and boy went to the beach. What I want you to do with your kinesthetic child is to have him or her read the phrase a girl and describe, if this was a movie, what action would we see on the screen if we were in the movie theater. And have your child pretend to act it out, either physically or mentally. Feel as if your child was a girl and the girl and boy went to the beach. Have your child pretend to be acting that out in his or her mind and imagination. This is getting the material into your child's best memory bank, the kinesthetic part of the brain. And similarly for tactile, do the same thing. Have the child read a phrase and tell you If this was a movie, what would the characters be feeling? So they won't be acting it out. They'll describe the feeling. So for a girl and boy went to the beach, the kinesthetic would say, okay, girl is running, the boy is running, and at the beach, kids are playing in the volleyball on the sand, or girl is smiling, the boy is sad. When they went to the beach, they could feel the hot sun beating down and the sand, gritty sand between their toes. Have the child read a paragraph in this way, describing to you, kinesthetic, the action, tactile, the feeling. Then take the story away and ask detailed questions about what the child read without letting the child look back. It is remarkable that children who can't remember a thing they read will read a page and say, I don't know what I read. When they use this technique, and I've named this, it's a technique I developed called virtual reality reading, kinesthetic learners, and virtual reality reading for tactile learners. So if you just try this, this is going to make a huge difference. Secret number 7. How can I improve communication with my kinesthetic and tactile learner? Well, here's some tips. If you have to communicate with your child, let him or her walk around the room in earshot of you when you're talking. They listen better when they're not looking at you and moving, or take a walk together and talk while you're walking. Tactile children, how do you communicate best with them? In a positive way with loving tones of voice, smiles, positive body language, and facial gestures. You're going to get more done with sugar with a tactile child. I've given you 7 secrets and many strategies you can use right away. Why am I doing this? Well, this is what I do. For 35 years, I've been heartbroken to see any child struggle. I've basically dedicated my career and life to helping every child succeed, especially the struggling ones and the kinesthetic and tactile learners. And I know each day they don't get help is successful. And I don't want any barriers to stand in the way of getting help for your kids, such as money, so I've made it the lowest possible to not put any barriers for you to get help for your child. And I also know that you're going to be so relieved to help your child that you'll be telling others who are also in pain and reaching family and friends or teachers who also are struggling to help your child. So if you're interested, you could register now by clicking on the box, if you're on the phone and you're not on your computer, then you go to www.secrets4, /most-powerful-strategies, and register to get your 2 free super links, or be the first 25. You can get your whole 4 members of your family tested. And I'll tell you, knowing the super links of your spouse is incredible, because I've helped solve a lot of family fights between husband and wife, parent and child, brothers and sisters, because a lot of it is just not understanding that our brains all work in a very different way. So again, now I have a bonus for all of you who took the course tonight. You're going to get an email with a link to download. You're going to get 9 activities from my ebook, Kinesthetic Vocabulary Activities, and tactile activities from my ebook, Tactile Vocabulary Activities. And you're going to have a chance to listen to this audio replay. So if you missed any part of it, you're going to be able to come back to this webcast page and hear the entire teleseminar tonight for free. You may want to listen. It'll be posted up for a week. After a week, people will have to pay $29 for the audio, but you're going to be able to listen to it for free for the next week. So I see some people already registering, and I look forward to seeing you and seeing you on the teleseminar. You want to read me the questions, and we'll answer them? Okay, Marty, are you on the line? I'm having trouble hearing you, Marty. If you're unmuted. No, I can't hear you, Marty. So
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
Marty, I can hear you
great.
now. Do we have any questions coming in?
Terrific. We do have questions. And the first one is from Leanne in Seattle. How do you write these learning style needs into IEPs?
Okay, if your child is has an IEP, I've had many schools use the diagnostic test data from Keys to Reading Success as their plan for their IEP, because a lot of the IEPs are very vague. They often just say, child will read at a second grade level to 80% in a year. And a lot of special ed teachers are looking for more specific guidance on what the child needs. And so what they've done is they've often taken the Keys to Reading Success diagnostic test information, because it has a prescriptive plan of what the child's gaps are and what the child needs to get to grade level and above. And they often use the data on how the child learns best as a method to get them those skills. And so a lot of schools have used this data as part of the IEP plan. So if they have an IEP for reading, they attach this as a specific plan of what reading skills to work on, and then the modifications include working with the student in their best learning style. So I hope that answers your question, and to know that this is used by schools for RTI to help intervene before they're in special ed, and for those who are in special ed, the techniques have really helped them, and a lot of students have begun to read so well using the strategies that they actually read above their grade level and no longer qualified for special ed. So anyone who's interested in that diagnostic test, that's part of Keys to Reading Success, you can go to www.keystoreadingsuccess.com, and it's the Superlinks test, phonics test, phonemic awareness test, plus all the strategies. It actually has thousands and thousands of activities for kinesthetic and tactile learners to learn all aspects of reading from pre-K, K through 12 in college, in comprehension, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, phonemic awareness. So you could go explore that and see if that meets your needs. Okay, Marty, I'm ready for the next question.
Perfect. Okay. This is from Carol. Says, my child is in special ed. Although he is above average intelligence, he struggles with all areas of reading. Can your program help me to help him, or is your program only for, she has it in quotes, normal students?
Well, I think after you've listened to me for an hour, I think you would know by now what I feel about that term normal. Every child is normal for himself or herself. So that category, it doesn't even exist in my consciousness. Every child is normal for himself or herself. It's our strategies of how we try to teach children that are not normal. Basically, it's matching the child. You know, my approach is every child is to move them forward, no matter where they are, whether they're in a label of special ed or a label of ADD or ADHD or a label of gifted. Every child, the brain needs stimulation to move forward. So, as I was mentioning before, what we need to do is find out there's a reason why any child is struggling in reading. And it's any one of those areas I had mentioned. I don't know if you were on the call at the time, but it's going to be broken down into any of these components. It could be comprehension, it could be phonics, it could be vocabulary, it could be test taking. And so the key is that, for example, Keys to Reading Success, why is it called that? Because these are the component keys. And you're going to be able to find out what your child is lacking, and you're going to be able to find your child's best way of getting information into their brains, Superlink style, and then you're going to be able to have activities, an entire curriculum just for kinesthetic learners in reading, an entire curriculum in tactile learners for reading, an entire separate curriculum for visual learners, auditory learners, left brain, right brain. And so, yes, your child can get help. Your child can move forward. Your child can become an excellent reader. It's just knowing what he or she needs. Actually, your son, it's knowing what he needs and knowing the fastest way of getting into the brain. So it is for every child. And of schools that have gone from 2/3 below state standards to 2/3 exceeding in less than a school year, included the special ed department. There's a particular school, that entire special ed class that began as undisciplined, kids didn't want to learn, a middle school class, that when we started using these techniques with that particular class, now if you walk into that class, these kids look like honor students in high school. They are exceeding state standards, they're reading, they're college-bound, they love school, and this is an entire special ed class. So yes, there's hope for your child. There definitely is a way to help your child, and I think we'll throw out the word normal from our dictionary. So I hope that helps you.
Ready?
Next question, Marty.
Okay. Sharon from Naperville. She's in your neck of the woods, Rick. My son studies and studies for a test and seems to know the information, but scores poorly on almost every test he takes. How can I help him?
That's a great question, Sharon. There's several reasons why this could be happening. The first thing when we look at is when the child is studying for the test, it's a good idea to listen to the child read aloud to you and actually see if your child is reading every word accurately, because the child might be reading the chapter 1, 2, 3 times and misreading words. So that could be an issue, because if there are certain words that are misread, there are going to be gaps in the comprehension. Second is, pick out some of the more difficult words that your child is reading in the chapter and ask if your child could be there are many words that the child doesn't know the meaning of, and that's causing gaps in the information. Okay, so let's assume your child can read the words accurately, knows the vocabulary. The next question is the child comprehending? You can have the child read a paragraph, take the book away, and ask questions. So it could be that the child looks like he or she's reading, but is not comprehending or not remembering. So that's the next issue. And finally, let's assume your child comprehended it perfectly, but still does poorly. Maybe your child is not remembering it. You know, short-term memory, you might think it's a week, 2 weeks. Short-term memory is only about 7 to 10 seconds long. And so as we read a phrase, we have 7 to 10 seconds to put that into our long-term memory for it to stay there. So it could be that it's not staying in his memory long enough for the test. And so that's one of the strategies I'm going to be teaching, very specifically. Actually, that is one of the most powerful strategies. I'm going to be teaching that next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. We're going to focus on that very, very issue. And I'm going to teach you how to teach your child to remember 95 to 100% of everything he or she reads for any subject, so that they can improve on tests. And finally, there are test-taking strategies. You know, tests are written in a way that they're trying to weed out who has the skill being tested and who doesn't. In fact, I was drafted once to be a test writer because they wanted educators to write standardized tests. And I actually learned how to these standardized tests are written, actually wrote them. And what I've done is after learning how to write it, I thought, this is information that every parent, teacher, and child needs to have. So I've returned from the dark side to share the secrets of test taking. That's actually going to be the second module, which is the first module is on memory and comprehension. The second module is going to be test-taking strategies. So if you could learn this, for instance, on that child's test scores. So thank you, Sharon, and I hope this helps. Now, I said I'd be on the line for 25 minutes, and I don't want to keep anyone longer, but, if you do want to stay on, I don't want you to not get your question answered. Marty, are there more questions?
Yeah, there's a couple more.
Well, I'm willing to stay on the line till we answer all of them. If
okay,
those who I don't want to disappoint anybody.
If you could do 3 more, that would be great. So,
okay,
Leanne,
for those who one moment if any of you have to leave now, again, I just want to say if you want to take the teleseminar on the 4 most powerful strategies for your kinesthetic and tactile child or grandchild, you just go to the webcast page and you can register there. And again, if you do register, we are going to give you instructions on how we could get all 4 of family members tested with their superlinks, and you'll be able to get your bonuses. You'll be able to get your free ebooks, audio replays. So if you're not at the webcast page, then you can go online to secrets2learningsuccess.com/live, LIVE. It will take you there. And if you want, we'll be sending an email reminder if you want to get notification of this so you can share it with family and friends. So, okay, we'll take 3 more questions.
Okay, Leanne. My son is in Devil kindergarten, DEVEL, and seems to have an evolved teacher and team, i.e., for example, the teacher has the kids do yoga before circle time, and he has a fit disc to sit on exciting his name. Now, he's in kindergarten. Would stencils be a good solution?
Hi, Leanne in Seattle. Well, it depends on your child's learning style. Okay, so we're talking about the skill of writing his name. Now, let me give you an example of how differently we teach kids in different learning styles to write his name. So stencils may work for one learning style. So let me give you an example. If the child is visual, your child needs to see a visual model of the name and be able to use that to copy it. You might want to write it out first and let your child trace it. Okay? For example, if someone is auditory, they may need to hear a description of writing their name. For example, if you were going to write the letter B, let's say a lowercase b, an auditory person would like to hear it as make a stick, start at the top and make a stick going down, then go back up halfway, and then make a circle. So you see how different that is? So if your child is auditory, that may be the way he needs to learn. Now, if your child is tactile, getting the feeling of writing through the fingers is very important. So, for example, using markers, crayons, tracing the letter on tactile material like sandpaper or tracing it in the sand will get the feeling into his fingers. Tracing a stencil would be great for a tactile student. But if the child is kinesthetic, the letter, write the name with the arms like air writing, using the entire muscles to write it in the air or write it on large flip chart paper or walking the letters. So as you could see, the techniques are really different depending upon the learning style. So it's really essential to know what learning style your child is. So again, if you want to take the SuperLinks test, we're going to give that a free test to everyone who takes the course. Otherwise, it's really essential to know that. So as you can see, there are going to be kids in that kindergarten class of all different learning styles. There should be a different strategy for each. So thank you, Leanne. I hope that helps.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready for the next question.
Awesome. This one is from Roman from Mexico. And Roman writes, my daughter is autistic. So my question is, what is the relationship between an autistic person and kinesthetic person, and are there some similarities?
Hi, Roman. That's an excellent question. And this question can also extend to someone's child being ADHD or ADD or learning disabled or any of the special needs. Here's the answer. Your child who's autistic could be a visual learner. She could be a tactile learner. She could be a kinesthetic learner, or she could be an auditory learner. It's a matter of which sense in the brain had a lot more stimulation, where more brain connections were made through that sense or that modality. So someone who is autistic could actually be a visual learner or tactile or auditory or kinesthetic. And so, as I was saying before with ADHD, if someone has ADHD, you could be a visual learner and have ADHD, or a tactile or an auditory, because it's a neurological processing or neurological condition. You could have that condition be any one of those four learning styles. So it's really important that you figure out her, even being autistic, work with her in her best style, because that's going to make a difference. And so it's a whole different category of looking at things, because one is the neurological connections in the brain and the perceptual needs, and this just has to do with which sense or modality that the child has more brain connections for, because when we teach in the way the child feels most comfortable and the way he takes in information, that is going to make the difference. So, Roman, I hope that helps you, and if you can find her learning style and brain style, that will really help make a difference, whether someone's autistic or in the category of special ed or in the category of regular ed. Children all need the same thing, is to be taught in their best way of learning. So thanks for listening in, Roman, and I hope this helps you.
All right. We've only got time for one more question. We do have some others. I'm sorry if we can't get to you tonight, but we have a question from Herb, who is in the Orlando area. And Herb asks, how do I determine what type of learner my child is? I'm no expert. Are there tests that determine this, and who administers them?
Okay, Herb from Orlando, this is a very good question. The SuperLinks tests that I've developed over 35 years in brain research and testing and retesting is going to help determine someone's fastest way of learning, which includes the learning style and the brain hemispheric preference assessment. Now, these two combined is going to give you a profile, and what I've done is made it very easy so that any parent could give this to their child. It's actually, I've actually spent the last 9 years converting this from paper pencil to an online test as part of the Keys to Reading Success and a standalone test, so that basically all you do is you're going to be reading the question to the child from the computer screen, reading the choices, and letting the child answer the question, and basically all you do is click the choice the child makes. And then you're going to go through the questions, click Submit to end the test, and within seconds, it's going to tell you your child's learning style and brain hemisphere preference. So it really it'll just take about, I'd say about 20, 25 minutes for the learning style test and maybe 20 minutes or 15 minutes for the brain hemisphere preference. They don't have to be done in one sitting. You can do them in 2 sittings. And you're going to, it'll score it for you, and not only score it, it's actually going to give you a very detailed, comprehensive report on your child's best way of learning. And it could be a combination. Some children are kinesthetic, visual, right brain, or tactile, auditory, integrated right and left side. It's going to be very, very specific. And it's going to give you a very detailed report on how your child learns the best, what best materials to use with your child, and also there's a bonus section that tells how to communicate to your child. And that will give you tips on how to work with your child. It can help your child's teacher. And then connected with that is I've developed the entire reading curriculum for every learning style. So once you know that's thousands and thousands of activities, entire lesson plans in every single learning style of every single aspect of reading. So that will tell you, okay, now that I have to teach, for example, main idea, I need to teach my child main idea in a kinesthetic way or a visual and kinesthetic way, and it will tell you how to teach them. So it can be administered by anybody who can read, I'd say at a high school level or college level, who can read the questions, or anyone who could read above a 4th grade level. It's a simple test. There's actually 3 versions of it. There's an original version, then there's a simplified version for kids' language, and we also have, by the way, a Spanish version. The test is also in Spanish. And so those of you who are working with kids in Spanish, then you could also find their super links. And I just want to mention in the Keys to Reading Success, we now also have a Spanish phonics test. So you can find the level of Spanish for the phonics for any child who speaks Spanish. So it's made for parents and teachers to use. It's very simple, and I hope it provides benefit to you. So thank you, Herb. Do you have any more questions, Marty?
That's gone. And so
okay,
go ahead. I think we're done. I mean,
okay, so the only thing to do is if you want to register, you can click on your webcast page or go to secrets2learningsuccess.com/live to register for the course that's starting. Again, it'll be 1 hour next Tuesday night, an hour the following Tuesday night, and an hour the following week. And each of them will be followed by another hour of question and answers live with me. And you'll get all the bonuses and, again, the e-books, the replays, and also if you sign up tonight, the 4 members of the family get Super Links test. And your bonus for listening tonight will be emailed to you with a link to download your 9 activities for tactile vocabulary activities from the book Tactile Vocabulary Activities, and 9 kinesthetic vocabulary activities that you can use right away, whether they're in elementary, middle, or high school. So I thank you all for listening. I hope that you've taken away something valuable from this that's going to help your kids, and I'm committed to help your children any way I can to help them be successful. So thank you for listening, and have a wonderful evening ahead. Bye-bye.
This conference is no